Hey guys, in this video let's take a look at the LightEditor here in Maya and how we can use it to our advantage to quickly set up a good looking render, right? So I have this cartoon character that I created a while ago, and it's a cartoon dragon. So let's see what it would take to light him and then render him really quickly. All right, so if I press render right now, and I have my render set to Arnold, as you can see, it's just black because there's no lights in our scene, and that is something that we need to fix first. So let's go ahead and go to Arnold, go to lights, and let's add a sky dome to our character. And I need to make sure my lights are on. So as I added the sky dome, you see this big sphere shows up, and that is our sky dome for our character, or essentially a huge kind of a daylight environment light. So if I press render now, you can at least see my character. All right, great. Now let's say I don't want this to be white. What I could do is I can go to my outliner, I can click on my AI Sky Dome Light, then I can go to Attribute Editor, and under Visibility, I can turn down my camera to maybe something much less bright. Let's take a look. So now this is gray, and I can make it even darker. And let's say I'm happy with this. So the another thing I could do is I can also increase the samples, which increases the quality of my render. All right, so we also have a couple settings here. We have the color, so we can turn it any color we want. So I'm going to leave mine white. And we have intensity. So maybe let's bring the intensity down about halfway and see what that looks like. So that looks pretty good. Maybe it's not as bright and washed out if you just bring the intensity down a little bit. But you know, it would be really cool if we also added a rim light to our character, and let's do that using our LightEditor. So the first step I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Arnold, go to Lights, create an area light, and let's make it much larger so we can see it better. And another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to position it behind my character. Maybe I can align it just a little bit better. So maybe something like this should work, and I'm intending for this to be kind of my rim light. Okay, so let's see what that looks like right now. If I wanted to see what does this light look like without the dome light, I can come here to my LightEditor, I can click on my sky dome, and I can simply disable it. Alright, so now since it's disabled, we know that the only light that is available besides the dome light is the area light that we created, right? So we know that this is on, it's enabled. So now if I render it, technically the only light that would be shown is this one. And also if I wanted to, I could actually say, come here and say all lights, and this will be kind of a close representation of what the light is doing. Another thing we can do is, of course, we can click on the IPR, and that will give us a real-time render. But I don't usually use this because it's kind of a processor intensive. But if you guys have a really fast computer, then that is definitely awesome. But I don't really need to do it. This is kind of really simple and basic. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pump my intensity all the way up, and I can see that nothing is happening, right? So maybe I need to, let's do something really crazy just so we can see. Well, now I can begin to see that something is happening. So let's do 12,000. And the reason the numbers are so large is because my scale is set to centimeters, so maybe that's actually part of the problem, but that's fine. I don't really mind. I'm gonna go to 30, and keep in mind, remember this is going to be our rim light, so I kind of want this really bright, so I'm going to pump the exposure up. And now what I could do is I can actually take my rim light and maybe position it a little bit better, so maybe it's kind of on the back of the character and maybe a little higher, so it's a little more dramatic. And I think something like this would make a good rim light for me. So now if I turn back on my sky dome and let's do a quick render so we can see what that looks like. So that looks really cool. You could see the rim light, maybe like the sun is hitting him from the top, and maybe I can turn down my dome light even more. Cool. So anyways, you could see how fun it is to, imagine having 5 or 6 different lights. This is a great way to look at each light individually and see exactly what it's doing by just simply turning things off and turning things on. So obviously if I turn my rim light off and do another render, you could see that that's not going to be there. So it's a really good way to set up your lighting and quickly achieve the look that you're looking for. So keep that in mind. And just a simple basic tip for those who are new to this: if you have a render that's kind of pixelated, all that means is you just have to pump up the quality of your samples. So you can do that by clicking in your outliner. You can go to each light individually and pump up the samples. So usually I set it to something like 4, and make sure you do it on all the lights that you have in your scene. And another thing you could do is go to the settings, the render settings, and under Arnold Render, if you just simply increase these values here, so right now I'm just gonna kind of double them, you can see that that will give us a much cleaner render. So then obviously the downside of this would be the render takes a little bit longer to render out, but then you can see you have beautiful beautiful images. So I hope you found this helpful, and I'll see you in the next video.